All right, let's get started. I cannot believe this. We begin with a tale of two parties. Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen decides to go to El Salvador in hopes of bringing back a suspected MS-13 gang member who has also been accused of beating his wife.
So while the Democrats fight on the behalf of that deported illegal immigrant, the Trump administration invites angel mom Patty Morin to the White House.
Morin sharing the heartbreaking story and a lot of details of her daughter's murder at the hands of an illegal migrant in Van Hollen State in Maryland. Griff Jenkins is live in Washington with more. Hey, Griff.
Yeah, good morning. And you're right, Ainsley, heartbreaking. And you're right, Brian, there are two sides to this story. But Lawrence, one sobering moment at the White House last night really captured the stark reminder of the deadly consequences of open border policies as President Trump recognized Patty Morin.
Patty, stand up, Patty. Please. Yes, her incredible daughter. And her daughter's looking down on Patty today. This was some day for you. And we appreciate it, Patty. And we're all with you 100%. And you are indeed an angel mom.
Earlier in the day, Patty joined reporters in the briefing room recounting her daughter's last moments.
There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury, whether it's bruising, broken bones, contusions, the scratches. Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children?
This as Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen advocated for his illegal alien constituent down in El Salvador.
I said I'm not asking him to smuggle Mr. Abrego Garcia into the United States. I'm simply asking him to open the door of CCOT and let this innocent man walk out. They should let him go.
But newly surfaced court records show Abrego Garcia's wife filed domestic violence allegations against her husband. However, she's now changing her tune, telling Newsweek, quote, after surviving domestic violence in a previous relationship, I acted out of caution after a disagreement with Kilmar by seeking a civil protective order in case things escalated. Things did not escalate, and I decided not to follow through with the civil court process. But the White House says Abrego Garcia is not welcome here.
If he ever ends up back in the United States, he would immediately be deported again. Nothing will change the fact that Abrego Garcia will never be a Maryland father. He will never live in the United States of America again.
And now we're watching to see if more Democrats will follow Van Hollen down to El Salvador. Guys?
Just fascinating stuff. Griff, I always thought when it comes to illegal immigration, if you have a green card, for example, upstanding citizen, you get a DWI, you get in a bar fight, you're gone. Mm-hmm. This guy is in front of a judge. They say, 2 judges said MS-13. And then he gets 2 domestic violence. He gets a domestic violence charge, chronicled in great details by his wife. She was fearing for her life. How does he even stay here a day, knowing that his status was in jeopardy anyway?
Well, that's a great question, Brian, and that really highlights just the difference in approach to enforcement of existing laws on our books from the previous administration to this one. This administration says if you're here illegally, and certainly if you have a reason to be a danger to the community, you will not remain here and you will be sent home. And should Democrats like Van Hollen succeed in getting Abrego Garcia back to the U.S., he would go immediately back into immigration judicial proceedings, and all of this would come right back up. That's why Caroline Levitt says he'd be sent packing again.
All right. Thank you so much, Griff. Not only is this guy here illegally, he's part of MS-13, so he's a terrorist. He also is being accused by his wife of beating her. This is what court records show. This is what she wrote in her own filings. Repeatedly beat her, and at this point, she writes, I am afraid to be close to him. I have multiple photos and videos of how violent he can be and all the bruises he's left me. And another one, she writes, on a different day, got angry again, started yelling, ripped shirt and shorts off before grabbing her arm and leaving marks. Then recalling that he hit her twice in 2020, said he hit me in the eye, leaving a purple eye, and he hit me with his work boot.
So Ainsley just went through the domestic violence, and so I'm not going to relitigate that because you just said it in detail. She also said
laptop,
and she also said that she had photos and videos as well. Two new things came out as well yesterday. When the Department of Justice released the filing, they detailed what the immigration judge said. So he said that, you know, these allegations against me in MS-13 aren't true. The court said that the person, the confidential source, was credible. And they also said something else. They decided to deny his removal because they said that he'd even show up for his traffic tickets, and they just didn't believe him. He said, the court said, even if it's based on hearsay, the gang validation was supported by reliable sources and corroborated by the police observation. And then the next thing that came out yesterday was from the Tennessee Star. They note a traffic stop that happened in 2022. He was transporting 7 passengers from Texas to Maryland. They called the FBI to come to the scene to evaluate this. The FBI refused to send anyone there. They said to take pictures of the folks that were involved, and they essentially let them go. But it was a 2-hour traffic stop. An extra police officer that is known for conducting these type of reviews. So I can't wait to hear from the FBI on that. So now we have the wife, we have the DOJ filing, and now apparently he was trafficking humans across the border as well.
I just hope Kash Patel's FBI would not allow somebody, after extensive questioning with legals in the car, to get away.
Yeah.
Knowing that he's on a removal order anyway, knowing if you look at his background, he's suspected of being MS-13, and they're looking at his case. How about adding this? Not only domestic violence, and his wife, currently now with a GoFundMe page, was very fear for her life. When he was arrested, he was found with rolls of cash.
That's right.
And drugs. Also, he had the insignia of MS-13, and he was wearing the Bulls paraphernalia. You might think, what's the big deal? That is what they wear, the Jordan-era Bulls stuff that they wear to almost be like a uniform, which is basically an in-your-face, try to arrest me. So this guy should have been deported when he was picked up at Home Depot.
Years ago.
Hanging out years ago. He survives the 2019 appearances, and then he survives the stopover in 2022, and then he survives 2 domestic violence incidents, at which time his wife currently goes into great detail about his violent behavior. So for anyone who thinks that Senator Van Hollen did a great thing for America, did anything short of embarrassing himself and his state, by going over to San Salvador and trying to get him out and talk to him, or Cory Booker, who's getting another team together to go over there next week. Think about that, as opposed to in the same state where Rachel Morin had to endure.
So that senator represents Rachel Morin's family, right? They all live in Maryland. And last night, the Trump officials were taking CNN and MSNBC to task over their refusal to cover Patty Morin's remarks. Instead, they were covering Bernie Sanders' rally, and they were talking about Gavin Newsom and the NBA. This is an important story. This is a woman who lost her daughter and is invited to the White House to speak. Then look at the coverage on ABC, CBS, and NBC during the trial, where the illegal guy who killed Rachel Morin was just convicted. 0 minutes of broadcasting her trial on those 3 networks. 64 minutes covering Abrego Garcia's deportation. This is April 1st through April 15th.
So let me just factor in something else. The actual story that she told was so breathtakingly brutal and detailed.
Yeah, it was.
That America needs to understand that a woman, mom of 5, who goes jogging, should be able to come home in a path their family always walked down together and couldn't feel safer. She had plans to go out to dinner with her family, and she's a grandmother. I'll add a couple of things. She went over in brutal detail that there was not one portion of her body that was not bruised or scraped
or
by the time, or broken. She had the most horrific death possible because an illegal alien was not deported multiple times, who came here with a track record of being a criminal and a thug, got through, no regrets, no apologies for 8 million that came here and 2.5 million that came here with criminal records. This guy was a got-away, by the way.
The administration did 2 things right. First of all, they put more information out of the Department of Justice, and we're learning the new information from Tennessee, and we see what happened with the domestic violence. The second thing is bringing Patty out there. It put the problem back into context. It got the American people back on message on why they overwhelmingly support deportation.
But what if you didn't watch it?
If you didn't watch it.
What if you were hearing about the NBA playoffs? And the thing is, it's just, if you want an example of 2 different Americas, and the whole common sense, not Republican or Democrat, common sense, America first, as opposed to politically correct. Let's go find out.
They haven't learned a thing, Brian. I mean, in every diner we covered throughout the election process, they all said this was one of their top issues. So to not cover it, they have an obligation. They really do. I mean, this is America, and we want to keep our kids safe.
We're going to continue to cover. Patty Morin is going to join us later on today. That's Rachel's mother. Tammy Noble is going to join us as well. Her daughter was Kayla Hamilton. This is just unbelievable, but we're going to hear from them later on in the show.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.